Hello, hello, hello. Warm welcome to you all this Sunday, the 25th of June, 2023. Um, so there was a Russian, unarmed insurrection in Russia the other day. If you blinked, you may have missed it. 25,000 or more troops from the private military contractor Wagner, which was not the head of the Wagner private military contractor, whose name is Prigozhin, Evgeny Prigozhin. He's known as Putin's chef, and he because he had catering businesses and everything in addition to this private military contracting thing. But he claims Prigozhin claimed that he had been able to meet with Putin for 2 months before this, and he had numerous complaints. He claimed that the Russian military or defense was literally trying to get them all kill all his men. Now, from what I understand, and I'm going to go through the rest of the news, I'm just giving you a summary. From what I understand, Prigozhin may be in Belarus. He may be exiled, but he got immunity for all his men as part of the armed insurrection, similar to what happened after the Civil War, when Lincoln pardoned all the troops under Southern thing. In fact, I think Civil War, Lincoln pardoned both during and after the Civil War, pardons for ex-Confederates were given by U.S. Presidents Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson, and you were usually extended for those who had served in the military above the rank of colonel or civilians of exercised power under the Confederate government. So, and this is one of the reasons why so many people wanted Lincoln dead, because he had plans to, for which had terms for amnesty and everything. But once again, there were groups of people on both sides of the aisle, but a lot of people wanted Lincoln out of power. So it's and many people applauded his death. So the Democrats have a history of trying to kill or otherwise, extra legally hamper Republican presidents. And that said, I want to congratulate, I want to recognize Juneteenth as the day the Democrats admitted that the Republicans freed the slaves. Some people claim the slaves weren't free, never needed to be free. They were always free. And I'm like, okay, all right, then that's fine too. You want to believe that? Anyways, so Mario Naufal, who spent a lot of time going over this, he really has done a lot of work in the last 48 hours on this. The past day has been wild, confusing. We cover the events from start to end live in our 24-hour Twitter space. Here's everything that happened since the insurrection failed. We know that at least 15 Russian soldiers were killed during this incident, with the bulk of them being from helicopters shot down by Wagner forces. That's actually claimed. That's disputed by this. I have it here somewhere. I think people dispute that any Russian soldiers were killed at all. Okay, so that's they claim 15, but so there's a claim that 15 Russian soldiers were killed. No Wagner forces were killed. All criminal charges against Prigozhin, the Wagner chief, have been dropped. During negotiations between the president of Belarus, Lushenko, and Prigozhin, changes in the leadership of Russia's military defense were not discussed. All Wagner fighters returned to their bases and signed contracts with the Russian military. Prigozhin will be transferred to Belarus as part of the deal struck between Prigozhin, Lushenko, and Putin. No one seems to know the current whereabouts of Prigozhin. Zelensky's office reported that they were disappointed with Prigozhin's decision to withdraw forces. Yes, because the U.S. thought their brilliant coup for Russia was coming into play. They were going to have regime change in Russia. Biden was going to coast to victory on this great CIA victory, which some people claim Prigozhin got $6.2 billion from the CIA to do this. And here's the thing. So yesterday, the Russian forces were within 200 kilometers of Moscow, and people thought that was going to overthrow the entire Russian military. Today, the Wagner forces are 150 kilometers from Kiev, and nobody's understanding. Well, all they did was allow them to move the forces around the exact way Prigozhin said they should be moved. So Wagner, in brief, Wagner's for it. So this is Mario's personal thoughts. Mario believes that Putin is weaker than ever and Prigozhin's life will forever be in danger. The winner, Ukraine and the West. And he says he would not be surprised if a peace deal is reached this year between Russia and Ukraine. Russia cannot afford to continue this war. Do you agree? And there's many people who agree and disagree. I think this is a thing here. I tend to agree with this. I differ with your final thought. This seems to be a game well played by the KGB pro Vlad. He's far more stronger than you can fathom, and the current situation has only made him stronger. Yeah, how come Russia Putin is weaker if Wagner mercenaries are integrated into the Russian military without bloodshed and the leader is on the run? The Kremlin has the upper hand. And Mario says, oh, he lost power for a brief time. And the Russian military is not Putin. Otherwise, Wayne would not have advanced in Russia. Wagner. You just don't know that. It's your interpretation, nothing more, nothing less. I listened for hours, and basically everyone happened to be wrong, which was already clear to me after 2 minutes of listening. Citizen journalism is cool, but this one made it clear that some citizens don't know what they're doing while pretending to be journalists. Well, I don't think they were all wrong. But in any case, I mean, this is a side thing. 3 people have acquired malaria in the United States. They're the first in 20 years. That's because we have no border controls anymore. So, but the satire, weaponized news satirically says, lock it down and mandate injections don't work and cause horrific effects. Anyways, Dom Luker said the CIA has led a coup in Venezuela, Iran, Guatemala, Hawaii, Cuba, Congo, South Vietnam, Chile, Nicaragua, Afghanistan, Iraq, and many more nations. So it's not a conspiracy when somebody says the CIA is leading a coup in Russia. So, well, it still could be a conspiracy. Doesn't mean it's false. See, the conspiracies are not necessarily false. There's nothing. Conspiracies exist. It's a legal thing. People are in prison right now for committing conspiracies that have been proven in a court of law. So clandestine claims Prigozhin, who is fully funded by the Russian government, is close with Putin and is engaged in disinformation psyops like no ammo and Bakhmut. Says crazy stuff again. And the Ukrainian folks didn't even consider the possibility it was a Russian disinformation. There was no civil war. There were 0 casualties. It was just Prigozhin being batshit crazy like he always is, and right back to the front lines after his outburst. What do I think? I think Prigozhin is working with Putin as usual to accomplish any number of goals. What did Putin gain? The disguise of the movement of mass quantities of his troops, the appearance of being weak to bait Ukraine to attack. They did and lost outside of a direct of Moscow. And he weeded out any traitors who may have tried to join with Prigozhin. What did Putin ultimately lose? Nothing. There was no civil war, no civilians in danger, and now the country and the public are galvanized around him. Now the NAFO turds will be on the next thing, and they were right back to hating Prigozhin and Wagner. They will forget that they briefly worshipped the man who took their beloved Bakhmut from them, just like they did with Belgorod. This turned out to be not the end of Russia, but despite the Ukrainian accounts being certain of it. As I said before, the only place this was a civil war was on the internet, and you just witnessed who is a reliable source and who is not, who reports on verifiable information, those who report on wild speculation. Careful who you follow. Choose wisely. Well, that said, uh, I have show notes queued up for today, but I'm going to try and keep this show due to listener comments and everything uh, to an hour or less. So hopefully there's a good. There's a little clock here. Alrighty. I just wanted to make sure. All jokes aside, well, what do we learn today? We learned that the Western media apparatus and the American public largely know nothing about the conflict in Ukraine, Russia. That's okay. They know largely. They can't read. They can't read the Cyrillic alphabet, and I can't really read it very well either. And I lived in freaking Eastern Europe for years. It just if you want to feel like, if you want to challenge yourself, move to a country where you don't understand the language at all, and any 5-year-old child can communicate better than you, and you'll be like, we can all be challenged. But that said, I hope to learn it by better or whatever. I was just busy with other things, and I did try learning it foreign languages on my own, but I took classes in the past too. Mainstream outlets, experts, analysts, talking heads, etc. All of them were confidently dead wrong. So Trump just confirmed he will be our peacemaker and that he will solve the conflict in Ukraine before he steps foot in the Oval Office. This will give him global support and political ammunition to prosecute deep state players and clandestine for preaching that for a long time. Even Scott Adams says the same thing. Trump could get a peace deal. Claims Scott Adams says Trump could get a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia today. The problem isn't that Russia doesn't want peace. The problem isn't that the people of Ukraine don't want peace. The problem is that the bloodthirsty bankers and their freaking bloodthirsty, Slavian drones all think war in Ukraine is somehow good for the world. It's good for the bankers. I recommend Major General Smedley Butler's excellent speech, "War is a Racket," which, I should have included in my things, but, you do the best you can. So, this is this was from yesterday. So this may or may not be true. According to Russian state media, major changes to the leadership of the Russian Ministry of Defense, including changes to the current defense minister, Shogi, and Army Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov, have been reportedly agreed upon in order to stop the march of the Wagner private military group towards the capital of Moscow. These negotiations have also been included in the assured security of the Wagner Group. We don't know if that's really true. Let's see what his latest thing is. The fire at the oil refinery and depot in the Voronezh region of Western Russia, which was caused by a K-52 Alligator attack helicopter of the Russian Air Force when it bombed the facility earlier this morning, likely for its capture by Wagner private military forces, has been extinguished. According to region officials, an estimate a 5,000 cubic meter storage tank filled with aviation fuel was destroyed, with multiple other tanks suffering damage. Well, those tanks have to be removed. And for reference, this is what he said the day before. And here's the video of it, of the alleged thing happening. All right, so this helicopter is just flying around. I don't know. It looks like it's actually looking for a target and everything, so it does look like a targeted attack. But I don't see where the attack actually happened. Oh yeah, she didn't show the video. Doesn't show the action. It shows a helicopter flying around and then something, the aftermath. So I don't know exactly what happened. So Russian President Putin is reportedly expected to have a major meeting with the Ministry of Defense as well as military leadership on Monday. So that's tomorrow. And actually, that's probably in 6 hours, 12 hours from now or less. Maybe because Russia's time for time things. So the official statement from Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner military group and the leader of this coup, says is all. I don't think anyone expected this. They were going to dismantle private military group Wagner. We came out on 23 June to the March of Justice, and today we walked to nearly 200 kilometers away from Moscow, and this time we did not spill a single drop of blood of our fighters. Now the moment has come when blood may spill. That is why, understanding the responsibility for revealing Russian blood on one of the sides, we are turning back our convoys and going back to the field camps according to the plan. President of Belarus, Lysenko, has been in talks with Prigozhin all day and is taking credit for the peace agreement. So, this is Mario Naval, who hosted all this stuff on Russia. He says that this is his crazy week. A prime minister, a sub, Elon's fight, Tate, and a coup. Plan for this week was to take it easy, doing 1 to 2 spaces a day and focus in on a groundbreaking interview with Pakistan's former Prime Minister, Imran Khan. Monday, he changed his profile photo, and the crypto world went crazy, not in a good way. Tuesday, Andrew Emery Tate III got charged. Mario hosted a 4-hour space that became very heated, leading to conflict among the panelists. Wednesday, he had tweeted about Meta's laughable Twitter copycat. Elon responded and then challenged Mark Zuckerberg to a cage fight. The sub got lost, resulting in an 8-hour marathon space with 2 million listeners. And Mario didn't sleep for 2 days. This is great when you're young and you can keep doing this. I mean, really, God bless him. This guy is weak. He works hard. Thursday, Zuckerberg publicly accepted the fight with Elon, and the global media jumped on the story. Elon's mom responded to me saying the fight was canceled, or was it? Then finally, Mario got some sleep. Friday, Saturday, we prepared to interview one of the most influential people on the planet, Imran Khan. Minute before the interview, we heard about a possible coup in Russia, which I call an armed insurrection, and it began to unfold during our conversation. Now, I just want to point out, there's an armed insurrection in Russia, and we're always told how Russia is ruled with an iron fist. People have no freedom in Russia. The Russian people are totally controlled by Putin. There's no dispute in Russia at all, and you end up with 25,000 troops going from Ukraine all the way to frickin' Moscow and back to Ukraine in some kind of armed insurrection. But hey, in the United States, we throw people in prison for years for wandering into the Capitol. In Russia, they have an armed insurrection and nobody goes to prison. Immediately after, we started a new space discussing the Russian coup, which lasted 24 hours, reached over 10 million listeners, and garnered global attention. These events were some of the weirdest that Mario's ever covered. Me too. Without any coffee, he embarked on a marathon space binge for 2 days. Mainstream media officially died, but the coup ended peacefully. Mario managed to snooze for 2 hours, and now he's boarding a 16-hour flight to LA to film a 3-day show. So, and Sunday, he's writing this before boarding, still groggy and sleepy. 16 hours on a flight, he'll get some chance to sleep. Good luck, Elon, with the fight, and thank you for making Twitter a platform where citizen journalists can thrive. We will continue to fight against media censorship and bias, hoping that the next few weeks will be calmer. So people made a bunch of things about moving Trump's trial back. This is a routine procedural move, according to Bill Shipley, who writes his Shipwreck Crew on Twitter. He represents 20 or so more January 6th defendants, including Jacob Chansley, who's widely been known as a QAnon shaman. So he has a better understanding. This is just They had the trial set early because of the speedy trial thing. Now both sides are going to negotiate when the actual trial is going to happen. The trial date's going to continually be moved. They just put it in in the schedule because they have to for legal reasons. The constitutional requirement for speedy trial. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a great American. He says, let's replace the vicious cycle of escalation with a virtuous cycle of peace building. Senators Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal issued a resolution threatening Russia with dire consequences in response to the station of nuclear weapons in Belarus. I agree that Russia should remove these weapons. As a first step, the U.S. can start removing its nuclear weapons from Germany, Italy, Belgium, Turkey, and the Netherlands, along with its new missile bases in Romania and Poland. So, the U.S. has bases. The U.S. has bases all around the world. That's the thing. It's military adventurism. So, break-in. Some employee exposes James O'Keefe's revelations regarding BlackRock's videos. I don't know what this means.
And I'm here to make some things clear. BlackRock does not in any way control the wallet of presidents. That would be like a president leaving office 30 times richer. Also, the company emphasized the word not, does not buy senators at the price of $10,000. That's just ridiculous. Finally,
well, I don't know what this guy is. Who is this employee? This video is satire. The creator is Damien Amani, who is a self-described producer and artist who brings attention through to current events through comedic videos. Okay, whatever. The best coverage of the situation he's seen of the Russian situation that Elon has seen so far was from Mario. I agree. It was the best overall thing. But even if you followed everything that Mario was saying, you could still come to a completely opposite conclusion from Mario. Some people went away from this. The people who were like, first, I don't know if Putin's stronger or weaker. Putin may be, this may be part of Putin's, whatever. But it allows Putin to make changes at the Russian Ministry of Defense. These are needed changes because there's a lot of corruption in the Russian military. Is there as much corruption in the U.S. military? I don't think so. First, the U.S. military is the woke world because you end up with colonels running freaking sex dens with their junior officers, and they're applauded for it. And I'm talking about Colonel Ravage. Here we go. Let's go here really quick. Colonel Ravage. Here we go. So they never forget that Staff Sergeant Michelle Manhart was relieved of duty, demoted, and had a disciplinary file established, ultimately ending her career. She did a spread for Playboy, but Colonel retired Ravage and Captain Puppy. So here, good morning. This is while all our enemies strengthen their military might. Ours is normalizing pumpy six-set, men deciding they're women, CRT for training, respecting pronouns so we don't offend everyone, and maybe drafting women to the front lines of future wars. And this is U.S. Colonel. With all his medals and his frickin' patches, if you can read the frickin' things, you'll know exactly who this colonel is. Okay, he doesn't have to have a name tag for you to know exactly who he is. This is his junior officer. He started off as a lieutenant, but now he's a captain. He knows how to make major because he does what the colonel wants, whatever the colonel wants. Colonel says, put on a puppy mask and down off hers and go woof woof. Captain's happy to oblige. Freaking This is how this is a kinked up freaking decadent world of the U.S. military today. I wish I was making this up. I really do. I mean, really, I'm not saying you should join the military before this, but really, if you do the government accounting office. So, according to the Government Accounting Office, the DoD is not even woke enough yet. It's not even now. No, that's not the Rubicon. They haven't crossed beyond the pale. No, no, it needs to go woker, even woker. I swear the people doing this, they hate America, they hate the United States, and they have no idea what it's like in other countries. I'd be in other countries, and people say, "Why'd you leave heaven? For where you? The United States is like heaven to us." My mom, she grew up in Europe during World War II. She had no electricity, none of that stuff. You know, so people don't understand what the world they think they want is. I know people they have multiple homes, and they tell me that they believe want anarchy, and I'm like, you don't freaking know what it's like to sleep outside and freaking have bugs crawling on you, and think I don't like it. This is why I didn't go all in on the army for that, and the MPs attacking me, but uh, so I mentioned this earlier. Before the mutiny, Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner private military contractors, was not allowed to meet with Putin for 2 months, according to Russian Volker course. His attempts were blocked by Shogi. Private military Wagner and Prigozhin planned to be liquidated. He thought that this was the only way out, and that Putin would side with him. And it seems like he got most of what he wanted. He may not be able to go back to Russia for a while. So it looks like he stood up for his men. So I don't know. So here we go. This is according to this person who looks into it. An ordinary citizen of Barat. Okay. How do you make $6.2 billion? Tell the CIA you're planning a coup on Russia. Take the $6.2 billion. Discuss with President Putin and make a plan. Don't do shit. So there's a little scene here from Braveheart. It shows these two armies running towards each other like they're going to attack, because that's what the English wanted the Scottish to do, just kill themselves. But then they go and shake hands. So anyways, so this is Twitter fiction, but it will soon be regarded as fact. So he probably didn't get any money. Who knows? Probably didn't. The 6.2, they just pulled that number out of the butt, apparently. So there's no evidence for that. I'm sorry I said that. I was wrong. Anyways, David Vance says there are those who were cheering on the Wagner armed insurrection yesterday and hailing it as a wonderful expression of the will of the people related to those who damn the January 6th insurrection. The dog's butler says maybe should be careful what they wish for. So wrapped up in hoping for regime change, they seem not to care which regime will replace Putin. After all, regime change promoted by the West has gone so well elsewhere. How bad could it be? And I want to point out, U.S. government initially supported Fidel Castro in Cuba. So this is the dirty story of the Cuban Revolution, is that it was promoted by the United States. Not all the United States, but the elements of the United States government. But first, this is why I'm against sacred things. We have elements of the United States government that play on both sides, and then the people running this go to work for whatever, and we have these revolving doors between these globalist hedge funds like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, and they'll cycle their three people through the CIA and stuff, or they'll hire people out of the CIA, so the people know where they're really going to go. I'm not saying there aren't some people who work hard and everything and are trying to make America a safe and better place, who work for the government. Sadly, their bosses seem to have different intent. And I'm sorry for all you government workers who, are trying to make the world a better place, but, are sold out by corrupt politicians. So, and speaking of January 6th, oh, this is nice. I like it when the articles tie into each other well. Filmmaker threatened by the IRS. He refused to provide video footage to January 6th Select Committee or Department of Justice. This is the same Department of Justice that has refused to provide the video evidence that could exculpatory evidence to all the defense teams by releasing all the video. Release all the video they have. Why should the government have this monopoly on truth? You end up with we had that thing with Pontius Pilate from the Bible where he says, truth. What is truth? Truth is whatever the government can get people to believe. In Rome, they get to believe the emperor's a god. In Egypt, in ancient times, they got people to believe that the pharaohs were gods. And these people, they set themselves up as gods. This is what you get with transhumanism, that people can become whatever they have the money to become, and that's what it boils down to. But so this is Jason documentarian Jason Rink doesn't go looking for trouble. As someone who quickly recognized the potential for problems while filming at the initial breach of the barricades at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, the 40-year-old filmmaker isn't known to take unnecessary risks. But although he managed to stay out of any restricted grounds that day, it seems trouble has come looking for him. On September 27, 2022, Rink received a letter advising him that for the first time in his many years as an entrepreneur, the IRS wanted a closer look at his tax filing. They're like, we believe you owe $80,000 in taxes plus $40,000 fines from 2019, Rink explained in a Saturday morning phone call. So I looked at the documentation. I literally just took all my expenses dollar for dollar off my return, including all the money I paid to contractors and sent 1099s, moved every declared expense over to income and said, and are like, you owe money on this. I'm like, this isn't how taxes work for old Rink laughed. I had my problems with the IRS. I think it's great when you can manage a business and not have problems with the Internal Revenue Service of the United States, which the rules, I sadly found out the rules aren't whatever you think they are written down are. It's whatever the lawyers and the judges decide they are for your case, because that's the rules they're going to go by for your case. Now, if you just fill out a simple tax form and give the government all its money without questions, yeah, that's fine. But when you have a private business and you want to take and maybe I could have done a better job at taxes in the beginning, but I believe that a direct unapportioned tax upon a person's trading their labor for an hourly wage should be unconstitutional. But that's my opinion. So the topless drag queens and activists say we're here, we're queer, and we're coming after your children. And this is at the annual New York City Pride March. This is after Joe Biden said that all the children in the United States belong to the state essentially, and so. And remember, Joe Biden also put the pride the trans flag in the middle of in the central position of at the White House. You know, putting the American flags off to the side and in the central position, hanging the pride flag. So basically, for whatever reason, and when I say for this trans pride flag, where I really think it's a nod and a wink that they're all pedophiles. It's basically the ascendancy of all people believing in human sacrifice and pedophilia. And people can disagree with me, and that's fine. As I said, people spend hours going over the same thing, listening to the same data, and they can come to two wildly different conclusions over what's the end result of what happened in Russia over the last 24 hours. So Vladimir Putin, this is outdated already. Who cares? Biden in danger of losing New Hampshire. Hundreds lined up to watch RFK Jr. speak in Lancaster, New Hampshire. I showed video of this the other day. They had this nice long line. And look, I think I hope Robert F. Kennedy wins the Democratic nomination for president. I really do. And if Robert F. Kennedy became president of the United States, I think that's great hope for America. If Donald J. Trump becomes the next president of the United States, I think that's great hope for America. Now, we'll see. Remember, Russia's the country that's ruled by a dictatorship. They had an armed insurrection that was put down without any blood being shed by the insurrectionists. Unlike when the U.S. unlike January 6th, where 5 Trump supporters died, none of the private military contractors associated with Wagner died in their armed insurrection. They all got amnesty, and Prigozhin's going to live in Belarus with his billions of dollars. He may be dead soon. Who knows? But I just, point out how, people think these other countries, how you have freedom in the United States. Why? Because you can watch it. You can watch, because children can watch sex shows and get porn in schools. And that doesn't mean your country's free. That means your country's perverted and abusing children. So Deadman however, it talks about the cage match between Elon Musk and Zuckerberg. It basically he made some little chart. I don't know why. It seemed funny at the time. This is already done. So Larry Ellison is the Attorney General of Minnesota. Says he could use the Attorney General powers to force Target to keep Pride merchandise on the shelves. Because if you take away the Pride stuff, remember they just wanted to be accepted. Now it's not that they have to have the pace of honor, and if you challenge it, you're a bigot and you're committing a hate crime. And I saw in New York City they investigate people damage Pride flags. That's a hate crime. If you burn or desecrate a United States flag, that's free speech. So this is a disturbing video from Mexico. Cartel members threaten sex workers. Breitbart has a full story. How many thousands of cartel members are in the United States already? And this is what they have. They have these cartel. We have human trafficking going on at a scale that's totally supported by the United States, by the current regime in the United States. It totally supports human, sex, and child trafficking. Okay, this is and they put it out on video. They do this, and they know that they're supported by the current United States regime. So Sweden adopted 100% fossil-free energy target, easing the way for nuclear. And the ridiculous nonsense is the taking away the ability of poor rural people to cut down trees and put it in their stove and heat their one room in their freaking tiny little farmhouse. It's ridiculous. Changing the target to 100% fossil free from 100% renewable is key to the government's plan to meet an expected doubling of electricity demand to 300 terawatt hours by 2040 and reach net zero emissions by 2045. Whatever. All right. So, anyways, this is the see, and remember, you have to tell if you oppose them, you're committing hate speech and you're a bigot. Let me see the clock on this. Okay, so good. Who is lying, Merrick Garland or the whistleblowers? Probably Merrick Garland. So this is by Jonathan Turley. Is this published somewhere else? There's usually a link somewhere. Okay, I have a hard time reading this. Okay, well, let's usually they have a link to his blog or something, which is easier place for me to read this, but I'll make do with this. Just make it hard for me. Okay. Oh, that's much better. Okay, what we got? Oh. So I'm not the deciding official. Those 5 words, allegedly from Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss, shocked IRS and FBI investigators in a meeting on October 22nd, 2022. This is because, in refusing to appoint a special counsel, Attorney General Merrick Garland, he's slight misprint there, had repeatedly assured the public and in Congress that Weiss had total authority over his investigation. IRS supervisory agent Harry A. Shapley Jr. told Congress he was so dismayed by Weiss's statement and other admissions that he memorialized them in a communication to other team members. Shapley and another whistleblower detailed what they described as a pattern of interference with their investigation of Hunter Biden, including the denial of searches, lines of questioning, and even attempted indictments. The only thing abundantly clear is that someone is lying. Either these whistleblowers are lying to Congress, or these Justice Department officials, including Garland, are lying. The response from both Hunter Biden's counsel and the Attorney General himself only deepened these concerns. Christopher Clark, an attorney for Hunter Biden, responded to a shocking WhatsApp message that the president's son had allegedly sent to a Chinese official with foreign intelligence contacts, who was funneling millions to him. I'm sitting here with my father, the younger Biden wrote, would like to understand why the commitment has not been fulfilled. Tell the director I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And that now means tonight. And see, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I'll make certain between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I'm sitting here waiting for the call with my father. President Biden had repeatedly told the public that he had no knowledge or involvement in his son's stealing. Biden maintained the denial despite audio tapes of him referring to business meetings, photos of meetings with his son's business associates, as well as an eyewitness account of an in-person meeting. Clark did not deny that the above quoted message had been sent. He only said it was illegal to release the text. He did not explain why. Then they added that any verifiable words or actions of my client in the midst of a horrible addiction are solely his own and have no connection to anyone in his family. Most of us expected a simple denial, yet after 5 years, Hunter has never even denied that the laptop was his. His team has continued with the same non-denial denials. Yes, Hunter Biden doesn't. He's doing, great. He has good lawyers. I'll say that. And unlike Trump, Hunter Biden doesn't bother cooperating with the government. He gets behind his lawyers. And unlike Trump, Hunter Biden's lawyers aren't gone after by the Department of Justice for being involved in some conspiracy with Hunter Biden to violate the laws. When Hunter Biden discusses all his criminal actions, now he's covering it up with his attorneys, because that's allowed, unless you're Trump. If you're a pedophile, you want to frickin' rape children or whatever, the courts will bend over backward to make sure your rights are protected. But if you're Donald Trump, the courts will bend over backward to make sure you can't even talk to your lawyer without your lawyer being charged. So the transcript details how investigators wanted to confirm the authenticity of the WhatsApp message to the company. The Justice Department reportedly shut down that effort. If Hunter Biden was evasive, Garland was irate. He denounced the allegations as an attack on an institution that is essential to American democracy and essential to the safety of the American people. How is it essential to the safety of the American people? In what way is anything that the regime in Washington doing actually making life better for American nationals? I fail to see it. For U.S. nationals, the statement bordered on delusion. Polls show that a majority of the public now views the Justice Department as politically compromised and even engaged in election interference. The level of trust in the department under Garland is now lower than it was under his predecessor, Bill Barr. Bill Barr, the man whose father hired Jeffrey Epstein for the only job that Jeffrey Epstein had. Bill Barr, who for the first time in 30 years under his watch had a high-profile prisoner in the correctionals in the facility that Jeffrey Epstein was in, die on suicide watch, was supposed to be watched by 2 guards, cameras, and somehow his cellmate being removed just the day before. Anyways, these questions are not an attack on the institution, but on what some are doing with it. Garland's reaction is akin to doctors responding to malpractice lawsuits as attacks on medicine itself. That's how doctors respond. They are the science. You're challenging science. As in the past, Garland continued to insist that the public must trust him in his department because you've all heard me say many times that we make our cases based on facts and the law. Yes, because he says it makes it true. Just whatever he says is the truth. Once again, he reminded citizens, these are not just words, these are what we live by. For those of us who once supported Garland's nomination as Attorney General, and Jonathan Turley, not me, was another maddening moment. Garland has done little to change the view of his department or to address the political bias that has plagued it in the FBI for years. That record resulted in blistering reports from the Inspector General, most recently Special Counsel John Durham. Garland does have a model. Yes, yet as these allegations pile up, it's becoming more and more of a meaningless mantra. The Attorney General has a growing problem. For years, many of us have criticized him for his inexplicit refusal to appoint a special counsel on the Biden influence peddling scandal. Indeed, Jonathan Turley has written over a dozen columns on why such an appointment seemed unavoidable, given the references to the president under various code names as a possible recipient of money and other benefits from foreign deals. Even after a respected FBI source detailed allegations of a bribery scheme involving Ukrainian figures, Garland still refused to make the appointment. Such an appointment would not only expose Joe Biden to high-risk interviews, but allow the special counsel to issue a report on influence and peddling by his family. Garland was willing to appoint a special counsel to look into classified records found in Biden's various offices, yet he continues to bar an appointment on major corruption allegations implicating the president. It was impossible to investigate these matters without tripping over the president and other family members. The whistleblowers detailed repeated occasions in which they were told to back off. Even the narrow tax issues addressed in Hunter's recent plea bargain relate to those broader issues, given the source of those funds. Influence peddling may be lawful, but it is also corrupt. Indeed, it is the favorite form of corruption in Washington and a virtual family legacy of the Bidens. It is a concealment of the corruption that often results in crimes. From false statements to tax evasion, to unlawful financial transactions, to unlawful work as an unregistered foreign agent. Whistleblowers allege that the Department of Justice consistently cut them off and seek in searches or answers related to President Biden. However, the line that stood out the most was this. U.S. Attorney Weiss stated that he subsequently asked for special counsel authority from Maine DOJ at the time and was denied that authority. If true, this means that Garland was not just hearing from experts and members of Congress calling for an appointment, but that Weiss himself also saw the need for such an appointment. Moreover, The report indicates that others in the investigation believe that there was being a need to create such separation from the Justice Department in light of what they viewed as a special treatment given the president's son. These accounts could explain why the Justice Department took 5 years to secure a guilty plea to 2 misdemeanors that could have been established in the first month of the investigation. It would explain why there is no evidence of serious investigation into the influence peddling or a charge under Foreign Agent Registration Act. To explain why Hunter's lawyer cannot recall ever being asked about the laptop. To explain why the problem is not the Justice Department's model, but the man who is tasked with fulfilling it. And Jonathan Turley is a Shapiro Professor of Public Interest Law for George Washington University. And with that, I'm going to say that's all I'm going to cover today. I'll have more, there's more stuff in the links. I want to thank everybody who took the time to watch to the very end. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a good day and a better tomorrow. And try to be kind to each other.